Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Barbells with Banter podcast. I'm your host Callum Solly. Hope you guys are doing well this fine afternoon as I record this episode. It's been a while since I've done a solo episode. I try and do these monthly on top of having my incredible guests lineup, of course. But look, I've had a lot going on. If you've been following my social media, you'll know about this. I explained this back in October when I recorded my last solo podcast. But yeah, you might know if you've already been following me, but in 2 weeks when I record this, I'm going to be having brain surgery to remove a tumour. They think it's a benign tumour, so I currently think that I'm sat here still without cancer, which is great. Another thing that kind of confirms that, or at least supports that, is that I now have epilepsy, temporal lobe epilepsy, as a result of the tumour growing slowly. Now, the reason I say that that's supportive is because usually malignant tumours, cancerous brain tumours, they grow very quickly. They change shape very quickly, and that speed doesn't allow much time for epilepsy to develop. But with a benign tumour that's probably, or in my case, a low-grade glioma, which is what they're calling my type of tumour, because it's grown so slowly, they believe, because it's about 4.5 centimetres, it's quite big, which they believe means it's been growing for a very long time. Which is weird when I think about that. Like when I think about over the years, like that it's always been there, it raises a lot of questions. Or there's a lot of light bulb moments. Maybe the signs were always there. But yeah, so because of that, on the flip side though, dealing with epilepsy is a weird thing to do at the age of 33 when I've only been dealing with epileptic symptoms for about 16 months now. That first started in 2022 when I caught COVID. But like I said, now I know what I know now, looking back, I start to wonder, did I have seizures before and I just didn't realise what they were? Because my type of seizures are focal aware seizures, which means I don't lose consciousness. I'm fully awake the whole way through, which is good for a safety standpoint, but it is scary because I remain conscious, I'm awake through the whole episode, which is not nice to experience, if you will. So yeah, basically, I caught up with my surgeon after a couple of MRIs back to back. He still believes, the radiographers and the surgical team believe this is a low grade or benign tumour, and he believes he can operate. And he gave me the choice. I could have left it and just had MRIs for the rest of my life and checked that it doesn't become cancer, but he implied that eventually it was going to go that direction. He said it could be 6 years, it could be 60. There's no way of knowing. And I didn't like the idea of looking over my shoulders. Sure, I could just carry on as normal and not have a scar on my head, and perhaps this thing would never turn into cancer, but it has been growing over the course of my life, so there's no reason to believe it wouldn't continue to grow and eventually become more of a problem. And I responded to my surgeon and I looked at him and I said, look, I'm 33. Yes, I mean, I said to him, look, I'm 33, I'm fit and healthy. If not now, when? And I'm looking at it from, and we're going to talk about this throughout the episode, but I'm looking at it from what my future self would look back and want me to have done. And I see it in a way of, when I'm in 10 years' time, let's say, when I'm 43, and this thing could have grown, it could have caused more problems, would I look back at myself now at 33 and think, you should have took that decision, you should have had that surgery? While I'm fit and healthy now, I'm a personal trainer, I look after myself, I'm in decent shape. I mean, I've not been allowed to exercise for a very long time, so I've lost a significant amount of strength and muscle mass, but I'm okay with that. Um, but we'll get into the mental health side. So yeah, that's where I'm at, guys. I'm recording this now because I don't know when the next solo podcast will be. I don't know how my recovery is going to be. I don't know how the surgery is going to go. But hopefully, I'll see you again soon in a few months doing a podcast. So we'll take a little bit of a break. I've got another guest podcast coming up before then. But until then, um, let's get into fitness, talk about health and fitness. So it's going to tie into a little bit of what we're talking about because mental health plays a big part. It's something I've really had to embrace and deal with. So keeping with mental health, mental health, you hear it all the time, right? That mental health is just as important, if not more important, than physical health. I've gone on the record many times on many episodes and said you cannot change your body for the better if you haven't got your mind sorted first. I've said that many times, okay, and for obvious reasons. But I think what's important, the problem is, I believe, is that the word anxiety is thrown around so much that people naturally roll their eyes when they hear the word now. And whilst it may be overused, there's a lot of times where people think they have anxiety as a condition when really they're just down in the dumps. But because it's so widely used now, people mention anxiety all the time. You see it all over social media. People naturally sort of roll their eyes and reject it. Like, oh, everyone's got anxiety now. Well, yeah, most people do. It's not that, oh, everyone's got anxiety now. It's that they always did. It's that you weren't aware of it because social media wasn't booming. I was diagnosed with anxiety at 25, 25, 26. I had it since I was 17. That's when I really knew that my mind was, you know, doing me a lot of harm mentally. And I understand why strong-minded people might believe, they might see people who say they have anxiety as a form of weakness, or then comes in that toxic shit of, oh, man up. You've got the older generation, the boomers, that are like, oh, there was no anxiety in my day. Of course there fucking was. Of course there was. But there wasn't social media to bring to light just how many people are suffering. And let's think about why people are suffering with anxiety. We've just had a worldwide pandemic. I mean, yeah, we're a few years removed from that now, but the after effects are still there. Kids, you can tell kids were affected a lot from their school and their social skills from what happened during the pandemic and lockdowns. You know, germophobia is high. People are so scared. Now, I myself became very, very. I have always had general anxiety disorder, but I developed serious health anxiety because it was COVID that triggered off my epileptic seizures. COVID did that. Literally, the day I tested positive for COVID was the day I first had a seizure. I've posted that video on my social media in the past. So what did that do? Now, because knowing what I know now, I'm so scared to catch any illness, especially COVID, that I became obsessed. I was taking COVID tests daily. I didn't need to, but I was so scared of it coming back and the what would happen on top of COVID. What would it do to my brain? How would it impact work? A lot happened. I lost a lot of strength during COVID. It defeated me. When in reality, guys, all you have to do is turn that around. So I've gone on record saying that I think COVID saved my life. Me having COVID itself was not a nasty. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but I've been more poorly in the past. Norovirus kicked my ass more than COVID did, but it did. It made me panic. When I had COVID, it set off a chain of events for the next year and a half that have led me to where I am now. And it probably had nothing to do with COVID, but what COVID did do I imagine, was let me know that something was there that I didn't know before. And it started off my seizures. Now, they could have happened eventually down the road anyway. But what I do know is they happened literally the day I caught COVID. Now, did COVID cause my problems? No, of course it didn't. I've told you before, this brain tumour's been there for God knows how long. But it's no wonder I developed serious health anxiety. So if you take that nationwide, are you surprised that anxiety is at an all-time high? People have lost trust in governments. You know, you've got people who have lost faith in humanity. You know, a lot of the time women don't feel safe going out anymore because now people are spiking. They're not, people aren't even spiking drinks anymore. They're just jabbing needles into people and spiking them that way. This is the reality. So I'm not surprised that anxiety is high. And whilst I do understand, these headstrong people that are like, oh, come on, everyone seems to have anxiety now, have a little bit of understanding of you're aiming the blame at the wrong people. You know, anxiety isn't just worrying about something. Anxiety is a mental state that you are in, and not a good one. I was talking to my guest. If you go back and listen to a couple of episodes ago, I was talking to my guest Jin Lally, who is a mental health therapist, and she she published a book which I have. It's fantastic. It's called "Emptying Your Stress Bucket." Now, I won't go into too much about the book itself, but do go and check it out. If you're going back and listen to episode 51, I believe, the link in the description is there to go and check a book out. It's not expensive, but it's worthwhile. It's one of the best books I've ever read. But what she suggests is, we always talk about fight and flight response. Okay, it's our body's subconscious responses to things, survival instincts. And what she said is there's actually a third one. It's actually three. It's fight, flight, and freeze. Now, freeze doesn't get talked about as much, but what she's saying is this is part of our primitive brain. This is our survival instinct built into our human evolution, our DNA. And she says that these survival instincts will eventually manifest into conditions, yeah, mental situations, maybe even mental illness. And it's not that it's a blueprint, it's something you can get out of, but it makes it very hard. So she says that fear, the response of flight, okay, will lead into anxiety. Right? She says that fight turns into anger, aggression. Okay, and then freeze, which is where you just freeze, you don't know what to do. That manifests into depression. You just give up. Okay, so those are the three things that humans do. Yeah, fight, flight, or freeze. We either run away, okay, from the problem. We either stay and fight the problem, or we just freeze and just do absolutely nothing. And those three survival instincts can be, talked about in any industry, and we can certainly talk about that in the fitness and wellness industry as well. But when it comes to mental health, reading that book has helped me give a lot of perspective of why people do the things they do. The parts of their brain they don't even realize is working without, in the background on autopilot. But it can change. And what she says in the book is that our primitive brain is very strong. Okay, it's our subconscious. It's how we're just evolved to respond to situations. But that primitive brain doesn't bode well in the modern world in 2024, because now we have, back when we were cavemen, you know, our only worries were being in a cave and worrying about a bear roaming around and coming in and attacking our family and taking our food. So we always had to be on guard, ready to fight, flight, or freeze. In 2024, those primitive survival instincts are still there, but we no longer have to worry about that because we have convenience now. We live in our warm homes, we have police and stuff. We don't need to worry as much about intruders breaking into a home. I mean, you can do, but what I'm saying is it's not like it used to be when our early ancestors were first walking the planet. So the survival instincts are still there, but this time we don't need them. So they're responding to different things. And in 2024, our worries are now about the economy, money, um, you know, the, the government, what's going on in the world, climate change, viruses, COVID, dictators, war, nuclear war. This is the kind of stuff that's in our mind. But even more things that are closer to us, um, freak weather. Um, the more common stuff is work, travel issues, um, family, illness, stuff like that. But our primitive brain still responds in the background. But the problem is if we spend too much time under pressure, those survival instincts will eventually take over. And that's where they manifest into mental illnesses now that we call anxiety, that we call depression, that we call anger, okay, serious aggression, anger management issues. And I think that what Jin says and what I believe is also the case is that, our smart brain, our intelligent brain, or also known as your consciousness, scientists still don't know. It's called the hard problem in science. Science still doesn't understand what consciousness is, the meaning of life. It cannot be understood because we know that that, that millions of species of animals that we share this planet with and plants, they act on their primitive brain alone. They go off animal instincts. Yeah, they're conscious. They think, they can feel. They feel all the emotions that we feel, but they don't really have conscious choice. They don't have conscious force. They just do. Um, and it's hard for science doesn't really, or biologists don't really understand where that comes from for us. How we evolved to have those conscious things where we can create tools to do so. We can cheat the system a little bit. Um, so basically, what I'm saying, guys, is it's okay to not be okay. And it's also okay to feel the things that you want to feel. It's okay, people say be kind, and I get that, but sometimes it's okay to have judgments. They may not be right, you may not want to have them, and they may be upsetting to other people, but you have to also be honest with yourself because sometimes if you're not, don't push these judgments to the side, work on them. Ask yourself why you have this judgment. You know, can you see another way round that belief? So that's my little emphasis on mental health, and for obvious reasons, it's something that I have been struggling with for over the last 6 months, especially recently, knowing that I've got a very high risk serious surgery coming up. But to me, I just tap into what I've just said to you. My survival instincts will do what they need to do. My body will do what it needs to do. There is no point in me consciously, you know, fretting over what could happen again and again because my primitive brain doesn't know any different between a conscious thought and what is reality. So if I constantly spend my time thinking, "Oh my God, surgery could go wrong. What if I die? What if this happens? What if that happens?" If I continue to keep spending the next couple of weeks telling myself that, my survival instincts, my primitive brain is going to take that and be like, "That's what's happening to you right now," and then you start developing anxiety, start turning into depression, aggression. So the key out of that, guys, is knowledge. And I say this all the time. I say this to my wife all the time. Knowledge is power. Knowing this stuff gives you the control back. It gives you the ability back to control your own destiny by controlling how you want to feel, how you want to think. Be kind to yourself and allow these feelings to exist: anxiety, anger, grief, disappointment, regret. Be kind to yourself firstly by allowing yourself to have those emotions. If you try and block them, the more your body's your primitive brain's going to fight back, trying to push through. So it starts by going, you know what? It's okay. I'm acknowledging this feeling I'm having right now. I'm acknowledging these thoughts I'm having right now. Um, if it comes to fitness and weight loss, I'm not enough. I don't weigh enough. I'm not skinny enough. You know, I'm not fit enough. One of my favourite things I hear, and I don't hear it as much anymore, but one of my favourite things, it's not my favourite, I don't enjoy it, but one of the most interesting things that I hear from people when they're looking to start working with me online or at my gym, or even just getting into fitness in general, they're like, I can't go to the gym, I can't start working out, I'm not fit enough. That's one of the, still to this day, one of the saddest things I've heard, not only as a personal trainer, but as a human in general. What do you mean you can't work out? You're not fit enough. It's completely counterintuitive. You go to the gym, you start working out, you sign up to a program or start a workout program because you're not fit enough. I have ladies on my 6-week work off program. It's a fat loss program. Now, I will have people say to me, oh, I couldn't do that program. You know, I've got all these problems. My favourite thing they'll say is, oh, I can't do this fat loss program. I'm too big. What? What do you mean? First of all, what do we define as too big? BMI? That's dated. Waistline? There are many things that can put you in a category of obese, right? That doesn't mean you're not going to live a long, healthy life. So I think that that comes from people who already have predetermination. So they already have these unconscious belief systems in their head, which is actually stopping them from improving their health, mental health and physical health. And it comes down to the fact that people are impatient. That's another terrible human trait. People are impatient. They want to get from A to B, but they want to be at B as quickly as possible. People want the best results possible as quickly as possible. And that's understandable. That's human nature. But what you're missing when you're doing that is you're missing the learning, and by learning, I mean learning about yourself, how you think, learning about how your body works. Yeah, results may take longer than what you first thought, but you're starting to feel benefits you didn't even consider when you first wanted to join a gym or try a fitness program, whatever it may be. So it's sad that our own beliefs get in the way of us achieving what we want to achieve. It is sad. It is quite sad, you know. So I like to think about 3 questions. When you're trying to change your body physically or mentally, when you're trying to achieve a transformation, you have to know 3 things: what, why, and how. What is it you want to achieve? What kind of transformation are you trying to achieve? Why, and this is the most important one, why is it important for you to achieve this transformation? And then thirdly, okay, once you know them two, how? How are you going to do it? And you might say, Callum, I don't know how. I just know I want to. But it doesn't work that way. You need to know what all 3 are. You could say, well, how am I supposed to know how? That's your job. You're supposed to tell me how. It doesn't work that way. You need to know how you plan to do it. And sure, I can come in and help you with that how, and help you with the what, and even help you with the why if you don't know why yourself. A lot of the time people fail on transformation programs, or they fail on fitness, spiritual, mental journeys, whatever it may be, because they don't know those three fundamental questions. They haven't answered them. What are they trying to achieve? Why are they trying to achieve it to begin with? That's the powerful one. And how do they plan to do it? And so many people will start my programs or go to the gym, try a diet, anything like that, and they'll fail at the first hurdle because they haven't got those three things answered from the get go. They might know what they want to achieve, yeah, but they don't know how, they don't know why. Or they might know how to do it, but they don't actually know what it is that they want to do. They certainly don't know why. Or they know why they want to do it. They feel shit about themselves, perhaps they're getting comments from their parents about their weight and stuff. They know they don't feel great and they want to feel better. They know why, but they've got no idea what it is they want to achieve with that why, and they certainly don't know how. So you need all three. When I take a new client through any program, any journey, I don't necessarily say to them, right, what's your what, why, and how, but I do get them to be aware of it. I just do it in a different way. But that's pretty much the principle of how my programs work. That's because I start with every client trying to get them to understand, even if they don't know it, but I'm trying to understand what is it they're trying to achieve? Why do they want to achieve it? Because without the why, it doesn't matter what. Okay? And how. That third one ties it all together. How are you going to do it? And I can often come in and help them with that third bit. So when I have a consultation with a client, when I have a telephone call, when I'm just chatting to a potential client or someone who's looking to work with me, they might go, right, Callum, I know what I want to achieve. I want to be able to drop down. I want to be able to fit in a dress again. I've not worn for a long time. I want to be able to get down to a size 10, or I want to be able to lose 2 stone because of this. My doctor says I need to lose weight, or perhaps you have a health problem or something like that. And then I'll go, okay, why is that important to you? Why do you need to make this change? And they might already know that answer and go, well, because, if I don't, this might happen. It's going to create health issues. I'm going to be, I'm on the way towards diabetes. My kids are going to be unhappy with me. My job is putting pressure on me. All that sort of stuff. Cool. And then I might say to them, okay, well, how do you plan to change it? And they might be like, well, I don't really know how. And that's where I can help them. Once I've got them first two, okay, I can go, right, I know what you want to achieve, I know why you want to achieve it. So here's how I think we can do it. But I need those first two in that order. I need what do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? I've got to have both. And I encourage you guys listening, if you are currently sat here thinking, okay, it's now February, I'm not feeling that great coming off the back end of last year, I'm not feeling too good in myself. I know I want to make a change. I want to feel fitter, healthier, happier. Let's just stick with happy for now. I want to be happier. I challenge you to ask that question to yourself. Okay, write it down. What do you want to achieve? Don't even put a time frame. That doesn't matter. Just tell me what you want to achieve. Write that down somewhere. Tell yourself, why do you want to achieve it? And spend a lot of time on that why, by the way. And then finally, work out how. And if you don't know how, start looking for answers. Start turning to the people who can help you with the how. But you need to personally know the what and why. Because if you don't, I had a client in my early days as a PT, when I was just doing one-to-one, before I owned a gym, before I had an online business, back in the early years, good times, I trained this woman, and she was quite stern. She was a copper, nice person, but she didn't have I don't think she quite knew her what, why, and how. She knew how. This is an example of someone who knew how she was going to change by signing up with me, exercising. She knew how she was going to get there, but I don't think she truly knew what it was she was actually trying to achieve. She knew why she wanted to do it. She knew how she planned to do it. She just didn't know what it actually was. I only worked with this lady for a month. And bear in mind, in that time, she lost £5 and a few inches, which I thought was pretty good. And I remember thinking, she's done great. We were working well together. She was doing all the right things. She was working out. She was smashing a diet. And then something weird happened. She just texted me out of the blue, which bothered me for a long time, actually. She texted me out of the blue. She said, I'm going to leave because I'm really disheartened with my weight loss. And I'm like, but you've lost £5 in 4 weeks. That's good. She didn't respond. Well, she did, but it was something like, yeah, I just thought I expected to lose more than that. The truth is, she didn't know what she wanted to achieve. I think even if she'd have lost a stone, I don't think she truly knew. And this is bringing things back to what I said. It's all right knowing you've got to have all three: what, why, and how. It's okay knowing how you plan to achieve something, but if you don't know what you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it, it's not going to make a difference. It's okay knowing why you want to make a change, but if you don't know what, you don't know how, it's not going to work. And it's okay knowing. It's all right also knowing what you want to achieve. I want to lose 2 stone. Why? Well, I don't know. Well, how are you planning to do it? Oh, I don't know. Doesn't work, guys. Got to have all three in place. Now, I want to drift away from mindset a little bit now, guys, and head over towards nutrition because I'm currently running. I'm halfway through my current work-off group. The January one's always a big deal, and one of the things that keeps popping up at the moment, for some reason, is carbs. Now, I've been asked recently on a Q&A, and I thought I'd share this because I thought it was a good question. And I thought I'm going to share this on my podcast as well. But carbs get a bad rep, and I thought we were kind of past that in 2024, but apparently we're not. And it's not helped by the keto warriors, as I call them. There's other names used for them in the fitness industry, but I'm not going to go there. But, and the low carb fanatics. And I got asked questions about, what's the differences between carbs? What? And I literally got asked the question, which was, what's going on with fruit and carbs? That was the question. Now, I don't judge that person for asking it like that. I get it. I have to humble myself sometimes and remember that I have spent over a decade, well over a decade, even before I became a fitness professional professionally, even before I did this as a career, I was into, I've been into fitness for 17 years, right? Half my life, basically, I've been involved in fitness and the gym specifically, and nutrition. And I spent a lot of my career working in kitchens. Okay, did a lot of chefing. I was never a head chef, but I knew how to cook. I know how to cook, and with that came the interest that peaked into it. They combined because my interest in nutrition and understanding things. The first head chef I worked with was a gym goer like me, so he'd teach me a lot. So whilst I was going to the gym and I was learning the exercise side of things, the anatomy side of things, how to train properly, learning about the muscles, what exercises benefit what, I learned that by going to the gym and studying. But in the background, as I was working in kitchens, I was also learning about nutrition until I eventually pursued this as a career and actually took exams on these topics and qualified in it. But it's very easy for me to have this idea of, well, you should know that. Why should they? People still believe that sweet potatoes are better than white potatoes for whatever reason. Why? Because it's the myth that they've heard. Certain media outlets, certain Instagram pages will say that it is. But they're both whole foods. They're just two different types of potatoes. Is there differences? Yeah. There is. Sweet potato tends to actually be slower absorbing, breaks down calories a little bit slower, um, absorbs the sugar from the sweet potato a little bit slower. Therefore, insulin levels perhaps aren't as high. But there's another thing: insulin. That can become a confusing topic as well. So I understand sometimes when people ask questions, I'm not like that anymore, but I used to be. Why are you asking a question like that? Why you answer something that's important? Well, it is to them. It is important to them. You know, yeah, I don't necessarily, and I will say to people, look, you're here on this fat loss program. I'm teaching you about incorporating new healthy habits. I'm trying to teach you stuff that actually matters. You don't need to worry about carbs right now or where you should get your carbs from. What's more important, a sweet potato or a white potato? But at the end of the day, these are valid questions that people want to know. And who am I to judge someone asking that question when I'm trying to educate people so they make the right choices? So when we're talking about carbs, guys, you have to understand that yes, there are different types of carbohydrates. You have complex carbohydrates, you have simple carbohydrates, fibrous carbohydrates. It's important to know that carbs is just energy. Carbohydrates is a macronutrient that your body actually prefers to burn as a fuel source. I like to use this analogy that when we're talking about keto or going low carb, let's look at it as if you've just, gone from a petrol car. It might have been a fast little nippy thing, okay, maybe a little 2 litre hatchback. You were on petrol, got rid of that car, you started a job where you required a work van. Now you've got a diesel van. Okay. Now the vehicle is still going to move, but it might have some differences. You might save fuel on your diesel. Diesel might be cheaper to run. You might find that you're not filling up your van with as much diesel as you was doing with your car. You might find that your car travels a bit quicker, okay, when you put your foot down than what your van does. Your van kind of chugs along a little bit. The point I'm getting at is when your body prefers carbohydrates, maybe prefers to run on a petrol engine, a petrol fuel. If you was to go keto, you're basically trying to swap the macronutrient that your body will try and burn. Now, here's the key. When people go keto, they have to turn towards fats as their primary fuel source. Please don't confuse the word fats with fat. Fat is a tissue. It's a part of your body. Okay, it's a dissolvable tissue, but it's there. Okay, it has matter. Now, fats is a micronutrient that is made up within certain foods. Fats doesn't mean fat. What does cause fat gain is a surplus of energy that your body stores. Now, there's different things to manipulate this. If you're exercising, if you're training, if you're actively building muscle, then your body is smart. It'll adapt. It'll understand what you're doing, and it'll go, all right, well, I can use up some of that energy to help repair and grow this muscle tissue that I'm trying to build. Because this person controlling my body's just put me through a hell of a workout, broken down my muscle tissue, and now I've got to get to work trying to repair it and grow more muscle tissue so that if they ever try and do that to me again, I can handle it. So if you're going low carb, basically you're turning towards fats, right? And what will happen, the process can take a few weeks, take a while, but your body goes, there's no carbohydrates there. Right, what else have I got? Oh, okay, fats. All right. Now there's only a couple of differences between the two. You know, fats burn oxygen as fuel, so uses oxygen to burn fuel. Carbohydrates use hydrogen and water. There's loads of different things going on. They're not relevant right now, but all that matters is one contains more calories per gram than the other. So you have three macronutrients: protein and carbs contain far less calories per gram than fats do. Fats contain 9 calories per gram, carbs and protein contain 4. each. Okay. So the other thing you have to consider if you're going to go keto, yeah, you might be cutting out the majority of your food, which might be coming from carbs. Okay. But now you've got to have fats, healthy fats too. But now you've got to keep an extra eye on the calories because of that. You may as well just start calorie counting. And this is my point. Like, you may as well just count your calories. Now, counting calories, calorie counting can be just as obsessive as any other diet. So it's not something I push hard on anymore, if I'm honest with you. I've seen what calorie counting can also do to people mentally. You know, it can create an obsession with numbers, and once you take that enjoyment out of the process, it's not fun anymore, and therefore you're not going to stick to it. You're just going to go down a vicious cycle. I remember working with someone, and they started having these child's portions as meals that were like 300 calories, and they were so obsessed with counting calories that they looked unwell. They not just looked unwell, they were unwell. And it wasn't so much that they were obsessing with the scales, they were just obsessing with the calories. So I say to my clients, this is how I operate. And this is my motto, and this is my core values, I believe, when it comes to how I handle my clients and how I provide content to my audience, okay, which is I am all about implementation, not restriction. Whilst there are many other personal trainers out there, I know many good ones, but there are unfortunately ones that we're supposed to be fighting against the restrictive diets that are causing more harm mentally than good. But unfortunately, some fitness professionals go down, yeah, you need to cut this out, you need to cut this out, follow this diet, you need to do intermittent fasting, you need to train 6 days a week. What are you eating there? Send me your calories. And then you also have diet companies which are very about restriction, most of them. Slimming World with the point system, right? Well, Slimming World says, well, as long as we put points on fats, which, as I just said before, contain more calories per gram, so understandable. But when you're putting points saying that avocado is bad for you, but pasta is sin-free, we have a problem. And keto, as I mentioned before, paleo. There's a diet that's literally called the purple diet. That it's only eat foods that are purple. I don't know, grapes, raisins, beetroot, wine. But listen, the point is they all work the same way, which is a calorie deficit. Now that doesn't mean that you can't follow them because they will work. But remember what I said before: knowledge is power. It's okay to do these things as long as you understand how they're working. And I've got news for you guys, they all work the exact same way. They put you in a calorie deficit. The only thing that is going to help you lose weight, the only thing that is going to burn fat is a calorie deficit. Now, I know you've had this beaten into your head. It's all over Instagram. You might follow loads of personal trainers. We're all saying the same shit. But I'm trying to do this in a different way by going, look, yes, you do have to understand. There is I don't want to say blueprint, but there is a framework in which we need to operate to get results. If you want to lose weight, if you want to get, not even weight loss, but you want to feel fitter, healthy, you want to lose body fat, gain muscle, get stronger, change your shape, whatever it is, you might want to train for a marathon, whatever it is, there is a framework in which you need to think in order to push forward and get results. It doesn't matter what diet you're trying. It doesn't matter what program you're trying, what gym you're joining, what sports you're trying, if you're doing couch to 5K. It doesn't matter what method you are using, but there's a framework in which you need to think, which you need to understand, which is that imagine a box, okay, or this frame, and all these little diets and methods are roaming around in there, Slimming World or Couch to 5K on the exercise scale, go to the gym, Juice Plus, subscription services, bloody Slim Paste, it's a real thing, Okay, weight loss toothpaste, I know. They're all just, imagine, hovering around in this box trying to get your attention. Now, choosing one of them is fine, but the framework is the same. Calorie deficit. It's human, it's biology, chemistry. We have to understand that the way weight loss works is that our body needs fuel. You have to see it like a fire. Okay, you've got a fire burning. You want to keep it hot. You want the heat. Okay, there's energy coming from that fire. But think about the fire triangle. What's the three things fire needs to sustain itself, to keep burning? It needs oxygen, it needs heat, okay, and it needs fuel. Now, technically, oxygen is also a kind of fuel, but let's just stick with that, okay? So, if you want to keep this fire burning, you have to keep. Eventually, it's going to go down. It's going to run out of a fuel source. So you throw wood in, you throw coal, okay, peat, whatever it is, you throw it in, keeps it burning. And guess what? The bigger the fire, the more it burns through fuel, right? So the way that the body loses weight is the more that you are moving about, the more that you are, even just doing this with my arm. If I do this with my arm, my body requires calories to do that, right? So once my body's run out of calories to be able to move, then it will have to use stored calories. Okay, and we want that stored calories to come from our body fat, ideally. All right. Now, the way that we do that is through being in a calorie deficit first and foremost. But if we're not, if we're eating more calories than we burn on a daily basis, then our body will store those calories and we gain weight, we gain body fat. Now, sometimes if we're lifting weights, if we're training, if we're being active, we can get away with that a little bit because our body will understand, oh, we're trying to build muscle here, we've got energy systems we need to tap into, can get away. But if you are over consuming calories and you're very inactive, perhaps you have a bit more of a sedentary job and you're not walking much, you're not moving much, then yeah, you're going to gain weight. So in order to lose weight, it's the opposite. We have to move more and eat less, right? But our body will choose carbohydrates first, taking this back to carbs. So the point I'm getting at is, to answer that question, or how I answered it to that client, is, basically carbohydrates is just sugar. It's just energy. That's it. It's energy. Fruit contains fructose, carbohydrates, sugar. Milk contains lactose. Usually if it's got ose in or X in, so like maltodextrin and stuff like that, usually anything with ose at the end, class that as a carbohydrate. It's usually sugar. Fructose, glucose. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with carbs, guys. Now, the ketogenic diet, look, there have been so many studies to disprove any difference between a high fat and high carb diet when relative to a calorie deficit. Now, some people might like to go down the keto approach. If most of your diet is coming from carbs, then switching to higher fats might help you with a calorie deficit. If most of your diet's coming from fats, and you don't actually have a lot of carbs, then switching to a high carb might give you some benefit. But like I said about the framework, ultimately, none of it matters if you aren't in a calorie deficit. So, rounding off this episode with a bit on exercise. Sorry if I just put my gilet on, my body warmer there, midway through the video. Or if you're listening on audio, you wouldn't have noticed, but I just suddenly went a bit cold. Switching over to exercise then. So a lot of time I'll get I'll get asked like, what's the right exercises to do? What's the best exercises for fat loss? What's the best exercises to get rid of belly fat? All the time. Get this all the time. No matter how many times I post about it, I still get it. And it's understandable. I get it. The problem areas are the areas that we want gone the most, right? So it makes sense that we ask questions like that of what's going to be the best exercise to work here. Now, if you're asking what are the best exercises for muscle development in a certain area, then that's a good question. You know, what are the best exercises to develop my glutes? You know, to get a better bum? Well, there's many exercises. The first one I'm going to is squat, right? You might say, okay, how do I develop my arms a little bit more? You know, I want some definition in my arms. Okay, here's some arm exercise. Let's hit those curls. Let's hit the bench press, vertical press. Let's go. So that's okay, because that's at the point where we're trying to sculpt the body. But here's the harsh reality, guys. If you are overweight and you are carrying a lot of body fat, these questions probably don't matter right now. Because in the nicest way possible, if you have that much body fat, you're not going to even notice that development anyway. You kind of have to drop that body fat before you start to really notice definition in certain type parts of your body. And this is why I always prefer a mixed workout. I've done many types of workout patterns in the past. I've tried all sorts of splits you can imagine. I've done full body splits, I've done microcycles, I've done body part splits. You know, you do leg day, arm day, shoulder day, or the arm day. I've done, you know, push pull patterns. So one day's all push, one day's all you pull, one day's legs. I've tried so many. I've tried, eccentric phase work patterns. I've tried decentric overload, all this stuff. Conditioning, cardio. You know, I think this is stuff that realistically, if you are someone who is a bodybuilder or if you're someone who is training for a specific sport or event, or, you know, there's a real purpose, then them questions have relevance then. But most of my audience and the people I work with are usually women, usually mums, young mums, that aren't bothered about that kind of stuff right now, at least. They just want to feel better about themselves. They just want to feel a little bit fitter, healthier, lighter. They want to feel more comfortable in their clothes. They want to feel comfortable in their own skin. Then you're asking the wrong questions. So you might say, well, Callum, what should I ask? Well, you know, don't ask what exercises are best to drop belly fat, because the answer is always going to be the same, unfortunately, which is eat less food, move more. But it's not attractive. People don't like hearing that. They hate it because that's boring. It involves more work. People want me to say, I tell you what, here's a little secret, guys. Have you tried the ab coaster 3000? Get on eBay, go and order that, right? Spend 10 minutes a day on that. You'll have a flat stomach in 6 weeks. Is that what you want me to say? Because I've got news for you. That's not happening. It doesn't work that way. Spot reduction doesn't work that way. Okay? And the main reason for it is because the hormones do play a part in where fat can store. Okay? Genetics can play a part in whereabouts fat stores. Some people may have more fat tissue dominant at the back of their arms. That's what we call bingo wings. I hate that term, but it's what people understand. Most people will get it around here, around the belly. Okay? Some people get around the back. My worst problem area, where I store body fat, is my lower back. Love handles, right? My wife loves grabbing them and taking the mick out of me, right? But I'm okay with that. Now that's to do with my genetics. That's just my skeleton. That's my hormones. That's just many things that you can't choose where that happens. Unfortunately, a lot of the time that's out of our control. But one thing you're not going to be able to do is train fat away from that area. You can't exercise fat out of that area. You can't diet fat, exercise out of that area. You can't, there's nothing you can do to remove fat from a specific area. It doesn't work like that. What you need to be doing in general is dropping fat overall. And over time, it will come. So I like to use this analogy. Imagine you had a bucket full of water. Imagine you were running a bath, okay? And you filled the bathtub and you imagine the little hole, right? That's where you drain the water. When you remove the plug after a bath and you've got out, does the water go like that as it's rushing down that plug hole? Or does the bath evenly go down? It goes down evenly, doesn't it? How does that make sense? We've got a hole on one end of the bath. Surely the water on this end should be going down quicker than the other, but it doesn't work that way. Now imagine you've got a paddling pool. Let's take that bigger. It's a paddling pool and you've got a bucket at one end of the paddling pool and you're emptying the water from one side of the paddling pool. The water across the whole surface of the pool is still going down evenly. So when we apply this to body fat, it's a very similar thing. Now, fat isn't as fluid as water by any means, but the same concept applies. If you try and do loads of crunches in hopes that you can target fat from your belly first before the rest of your body, it doesn't work. When we are in a calorie deficit, when we are in a we're in a metabolic phase, a fat burning phase where our body has to take calories from its own fat stores to use as energy, okay, it's not going to pick a certain area. It's going to do it all round. So what the sad thing about that though, guys, is the place that's the most dominant for you in terms of body fat is usually the last place to go. And it's the last place to see, which is why you think it's not working, you quit, and here we go again. The cycle repeats. So if you have more body fat on the belly region, okay, you've got belly fat, but the rest of you isn't that as bad, you still need to be in an overall calorie deficit and your body needs to get rid of fat, distribute it evenly across the whole body, and it will chip away at the belly. It will. But what happens is, because that was the most dominant to begin with, and that's what you're fixating on, that's what you're looking at, that's what you're seeing in the mirror, it's what you're looking at in photos, it's the last place to go, and that's why people give up before they've even really noticed the changes that have actually been happening. What happens? So, crunches is not going to do it. The ab coaster 3000 is not going to do it. No, doing a load of dips and tricep extensions is not going to make your bingo wings go quicker. Now, what does happen is you can definitely encourage your body to build more muscle in that region. So if you're doing a load of arm workouts, yeah, and you're doing loads of tricep workouts, then yeah, you're going to break down your triceps. You're going to encourage your body to develop muscle tissue around the triceps. But again, and that you might see some definition, but again, if you've got a lot of body fat in that area, you're not even going to notice because the fat's going to cover over it. If anything, it might just make the arm grow more as the muscle is growing inside within the fat, and it's then going to make you think that it's not working. It's going the opposite way, if anything. So, in terms of what exercises are best for fat loss, now you could say that there are some people that will say that cardio is your best bet short term. If you're trying to lose weight quickly, maybe for a holiday, you've got a shorter time frame, then cardio is probably going to be your friend. Because that heart rate's up, you're more metabolic, you're more likely that the body's going to target, it's going to burn fat, it's going to burn calories. Okay. However, there is people on the flip side that say actually lifting weights is the best way to burn fat and lose weight long term. I agree. I see both ends of the coin here. So my advice to you is always to have a blend. Yeah, I'm all about balance. As I said, implementation, not restriction, but I would have a healthy balance of weight training or resistance training and cardio, or what we call conditioning. Sounds a bit nicer. Yeah. But if you want to go one or two ways, that's fine. Some people like the lifting weight side of things, and yes, lifting weights encourages the muscle to develop. Muscle tissue requires a lot more energy. So, building muscle, I guess I like to use the analogy of you have currently driving around in a 1 litre vehicle. It's not very fast, okay? Doesn't pack that much punch, doesn't have that much power. You're looking for an upgrade. Now you want to go to a 2 litre, right? 2 litre turbo. And you've got a faster car, bigger engine, okay? More power. But fuel consumption goes up. Because now to sustain that new engine, that bigger engine, that more powerful, faster car, your car needs more energy. So your fuel consumption, your price of your fuel has gone up. You're suddenly putting a lot more fuel in this 2 litre than you were you want. The body is the same. So now if you're trying to actively build muscle tissue, okay, by breaking it down, encouraging the body to repair and then grow muscle tissue, if you're increasing tissue to the body, it needs more energy to support that new tissue. So one mistake I see people make is that they're exercising in hopes to try and build muscle and tone up, but then they're under eating their calories and they're dieting so much that they can't even build. The body won't even build muscle tissue because there's not enough energy. So it's like, well, there's no point in building this. And then it creates a big divide between how much we're dieting and how much we're training. And then as that divide gets bigger, we get more frustrated. Oh, this isn't working. So they start exercising more, burning even more calories they don't have. And now they're trying to lower the calories and diet even more. Now they're cutting carbs, they're cutting fats, they're doing this. And bang, they're just heading a fast way to a weight loss plateau. And then they give up, go backwards, and right back here we go again. So exercise has its place when it comes to fat loss. 100%. There is a place for cardio and resistance training. There's many other things too. Yoga, Pilates, balance, coordination, posture realignment, posture correction, agility, cardio, respiratory health, many other systems in place that we can try and work around when it comes to exercise. Exercise isn't just about fat loss, but exercise certainly plays a big part in it, especially when it comes to actually trying to shape or tone our body. We're going to need exercise because losing weight alone from dieting, you might follow a diet and the diet will help you lose 2 stone. Great. But you still don't feel toned, you don't feel skinny because actually you've not worked out. You've not given your body a reason to build muscle. You've just restricted your calories by quite a stupid amount. So yeah, the overall weight's gone down, but with that is muscle. So actually in some cases the scales have gone down, but you feel even more flabbier or unhealthier than you were before. And now you don't have as much muscle tissue, so your metabolism's not as quick. So now it's even harder to keep losing weight. And this is the thing, guys, I try and sum this up in one sentence. Everything I've just explained to you over the last hour is just how complicated fat loss actually is. And my saying is this: if weight loss was easy, we'd all be walking around with a 6-pack right now. Weight loss is simple, but it's not easy. The concept of weight loss is very straightforward. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, it is. I don't care if you're insulin resistant. I don't care if you have an underactive thyroid. I don't care what the problem is. Are these things barriers? Yes, absolutely. But they do not override the fundamental law of calories in versus calories out. Okay? You know, what is it? 8 billion people on the planet? You are not the exception. So, what we have to understand is weight loss is hard. It's hard. Not only weight loss isn't that hard, fat loss is hard. Because it's quite easy to lose muscle tissue. In fact, when we first start weight loss programs, do you know what the first thing we tend to lose on the scales is? Water weight. So when you first do a diet and you lose 6 pounds, 7 pounds in a couple of weeks, oh my God, I'm doing fantastic. Do you know most of that weight you've lost was actually water to begin with? Now we're entering fat. And then it slows down. And then now you think, you know, I was losing 6 pounds a couple of weeks ago and now I've lost a pound. Oh, this isn't working anymore. No, it was. So knowledge is power. And that's where I come in. Remember when I spoke earlier in the episode about the what, why, and how? Leave the how to me. I'll help you with the how. But you need to know what you want to change, why you want to change, and then I'll help you understand how we can get that to work. Guys, make sure you give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Both of them are, my handle is at Callum Sully Fitness. TikTok as well, guys. Go give me a follow. Make sure you've hit follow on this podcast if you enjoyed this episode. And I'm always looking to talk about, give you answers to stuff that you want to find out. So if there's anything you would like me to discuss on the podcast, any questions you have for me, please fire away. Send them to me on email or on social media with the subject heading podcast so I know. If you'd like to try a 7-day trial working with me on my online membership group, Shape with Sully, it's a 7-day trial for £7. It's not a free trial. I don't believe people will invest in anything. If people don't put skin in the game, if they don't invest at least something, they won't bother. So it's not a free trial. £7 for 7 days. Okay, so £1 a day. Come and give it a go. We've got workouts. We've got special guests from nutritionists, dietitians in there that have recorded content for you. We have active stuff that we do in the group, daily, weekly challenges. We can do progress tracking with your measurements and progress photos. Loads of stuff. It's basically a little community to be accountable to. And there's modules in there, there's video lessons in there, there's workout programs that you can follow at home, all in there. Okay, come and try it out. £7 for 7 days. The trial is available from today. So all you've got to do, hit the link in the description or the show notes of this episode, or head to my website, www.callumsullyfitness.com, and you want to hit the tab Shape with Sully to begin your trial. Awesome stuff, guys. So that was a long one, but there was a lot I wanted to get off my chest there, ready for, because we're still in the early phases of the year. You know, January may be over, but we've got a long year ahead still. And sometimes people are still killing it, and that's great to see, but other times people have already given up on a New Year's resolution. And hopefully you've taken something from this episode to understand a little bit about our mindset. You know, why our brains work the way they do, that fight, flight, freeze model. You know, it's okay to be, given to your feelings, accept your true feelings for what they are, accept your judgments, and then work on them. You know, it's okay to ask questions about what carbs are good and what are not, but don't lose sight of the fact that the only thing relevant when it comes to losing fat is that you're in a calorie deficit. And we're in that framework. That's the framework in which you need to think. Doesn't matter what diet you go and do, guys. Go and do as many diets. Try different things. Find what works for you. Okay, I give Slimming World a lot of stick. I don't like Slimming World. But I've got no problem with people who do Slimming World. If it works, it works. I mean, I know why it works. It's a calorie deficit. But if it's something that helps you achieve that calorie deficit, it's not boring, you enjoy that community aspect, fine. I have a problem with the company and their awful ethics that they market and sell. I have a problem with the sin system. okay, because of the potential dangers that can come down the road with cutting out an entire macronutrient. But I don't actually have an issue with the diet, because at the end of the day, diets are diets. They're a method. They're all means to an end. But there is a framework in which you have to think before you do these diets. And that is understanding that you need to know that no matter what you do, it's always going to come down to a calorie deficit. And you are more than welcome to try whatever method you want. Fasting, Slimming World, Juice Plus, Slim Fast, Weight Watchers, bloody Jane Plan, Couch to 5K, whatever it is, absolutely fine. But understand they all work the exact same way. And as long as you think in that framework, that's going to help you down the line from hitting a plateau and giving up. And finally, as we touched a bit about the exercise and what exercise is best for fat loss, look, all exercise is great, but there is no real answer to that. Just all exercise. Some places cardio is probably great for the short term if you're training for something. But cardio also can break down muscle tissue quite a bit. Whereas weight training definitely increases your metabolism and increases how many calories you can burn at rest in the long term. And if you're trying to train for shape, you want to feel better in your clothes, then you definitely want to be doing resistance training. So try anything. But what we've achieved today on this episode, guys, is look, all comes from a good place. So the next time you hear from me, I do have a guest podcast with my guest Samantha coming up on the next episode. After that, guys, I'll be honest, I don't know when I'll next do an episode of the show. I've got to wait for my recovery, post-surgery. If surgery goes well, this could... I don't want to be doom and gloom, but we can't rule it out. This could be the last podcast I ever record on my own. I don't know what I'm going to wake up to. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to find. All I know is I chose to do this for the betterment of my family, my livelihood, my business. And a lot of people have dropped me messages because they've been checking out on social media, wishing me well, and I appreciate that. There's nothing I can do. It's got to come out. So it may as well be now. I'm scared, but what did I just talk about at the start of this episode? It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to have these judgments, these thoughts. But what I need to do is go, okay, I'm allowing these thoughts to happen, but they're not helping me. They're not serving me right now, so let's change them. Guys, thank you very much for listening. If you stay tuned all the way to the end, I do appreciate it. Please make sure to hit that follow button. Make sure you go and follow my social media, especially on Instagram. That's my main platform. And jump on the trial. If you fancy working with me, come and join my Shape with Sully trial for 7 days. Links in the description. And have a fantastic rest of February, guys. Enjoy those pancakes. Enjoy Valentine's Day. And I will catch you guys on the other.